Hello, friends and kindred souls. Welcome back to Sage Thyme. I'm Lillian. Today we are being guided, we are being asked, I am being asked to, instead of pull cards, read a few pages out of one of my favorite little books. I say that loosely, I have a lot of favorite little books, but this one in particular is very special, and so it feels special that it wants to be read. This is The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff. And the pages that we were pulled to, well, let's begin. It's a few pages, and this reading will be a reading, and you get to channel the messages that feel themselves through you from these words and how they apply for you. Here we go. No matter how useful we may be, sometimes it takes us a while to recognize our own value. This can be illustrated by the Chinese story of the stonecutter. It begins, there was once a stonecutter who was dissatisfied with himself and with his position in life. One day he walked past a wealthy merchant's house, and through the open gateway he saw many fine possessions and important visitors. How powerful that merchant must be, thought the stonecutter. He became very envious and wished that he could be like the merchant. Then he would no longer have to live the life of a mere stonecutter. To his great surprise, he suddenly became the merchant, enjoying more luxuries and power than he had ever dreamed of, envied and detested by those less wealthy than himself. But soon a high official passed by, carried in a sedan chair, accompanied by attendants, and escorted by soldiers beating gongs. Everyone, no matter how wealthy, had to bow low before the procession. How powerful that official is, he thought. I wish I could be a high official. And then he became a high official, carried everywhere in his embroidered sedan chair, feared and hated by all the people around him who had to bow down before him as he passed. It was a hot summer day, and the official felt very uncomfortable in the sticky sedan chair. He looked up from the sun. It shone proudly in the sky, unaffected by his presence. How powerful the sun is, he thought. I wish I could be that sun. Then he became the sun, shining fiercely down on everyone, scorching the fields cursed by the farmers and laborers. But a huge black cloud moved between him and the earth, so that his light could no longer shine on everything below. How powerful that storm cloud is, he thought. I wish I could be that cloud. Then he became the cloud, flooding the fields and villages, shouted at by everybody. But soon he found that he was being pushed away by some great force and realized that it was the wind. How powerful it is, he thought. I wish I could be the wind. And then he became the wind, blowing tiles off the roofs of houses, uprooting trees, hated and feared by all below him. But after a while, he ran up against something that would not move, no matter how forcefully he blew himself against it. A huge, towering stone. How powerful that stone is, he thought. I wish I could be a stone. And then he became a stone, more powerful than anything else on earth. But as he stood there, he heard the sound of a hammer pounding a chisel into the solid rock and felt himself being changed. What could be more powerful than I, the stone, he thought. He looked down and saw far below him the figure of a stone cutter. Ah, here's the mail. Oh, look, something for you, Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. For me, said Pooh. For Mr. Pooh Bear. Mr. Pooh Bear. That's what it says. Mr. Pooh Bear, said Pooh in an odd sort of voice. What's it say? He asked, climbing onto the writing table and looking over my shoulder. It's from Finchley's, announcing our 3rd annual shoe sale, all styles, all sizes. Pooh, you don't need this. What's that say at the bottom? Asked Pooh. Free coffee. One more reason to stay away. Let me examine this more carefully, said Pooh, taking it over by the window. And then the author goes on to say, in order to take control of our lives and accomplish something of lasting value, sooner or later we need to learn to believe. We don't need to shift our responsibilities onto the shoulders of some deified spiritual Superman or sit around and wait for fate to come knocking at the door. We simply need to believe in the power that's within us and use it. When we do that and stop imitating others and competing against them, things begin to work out for us. Let's take a couple of examples. In 1927, a 32-year-old man stood on the edge of the lake in Chicago's Lincoln Park, planning to drop beneath the dark waters and drown. His daughter had died, his company had gone bankrupt, his reputation had been ruined, and he was becoming an alcoholic. Looking into the lake, he asked himself what one small man in his position could possibly do. And then an answer came to him. He was now free to take risks, to initiate action on his own, and by doing so, to help other people. He returned home and committed himself to the work that he believed the universe wanted him to do, instead of what he had been taught to do. He watched the laws of the natural world and altered his own living patterns accordingly, eventually changing his life completely. Those laws were to inspire and support him in his greatest achievements. But without his believing and taking a chance, his contributions to humanity would never have been made, and no one would have come to respect the name Buckminster Fuller. Wow. Got a little teary on that one. Interesting. Want to do one more? Let's do one more example. In 1854, a boy was withdrawn from school in Port Huron, Michigan, for causing trouble. He had been there for 3 months. That was to be the only formal education of his life. He later worked as a laboratory assistant. The job ended when he blew up the laboratory. His employer picked him up and threw him out into the dust, saying that he would never amount to anything. But he had a plan, and he wasn't going to let a little problem or two stop him. He wanted to learn the mechanical applications of natural laws. He eventually became the foremost inventor in American history, with over 1,300 domestic and foreign patents registered in his name, a name synonymous with problem-solving genius, the name of Thomas Edison. The play it safe pessimist of the world never accomplished much of anything because they don't look clearly and objectively at situations. They don't recognize or believe in their own abilities, and they won't stretch those abilities to overcome them, even the smallest amount of risk. For example, when Rue fell into the stream during the famous expedition to find the North Pole, what did dismal Eeyore do about it? Long after Rue had been carried away by the current, Eeyore half-heartedly hung his tail over the water so that Rue could grab hold of it and pull himself out, or more accurately, so that Eeyore would get credit for having tried something. Of course, he didn't really expect it to do any good. And of course, it didn't. So we'll stop there. I love that passage. I'm reading it not for the first time, for the first time in a long time, here with you guys now. And I think it's really striking at the heart of what has been moving through the atmosphere with folks. There's been this intense energy of inner fire and momentum, and it's been being met, it seems like, with almost a shroud of, should I really try again? Should I really hope again? Can, will it matter if I try anymore? And with that, there's just, I can really feel this immense and incredible just tiredness. You guys have worked hard for a long time, and it's completely understandable to have that Eeyore persona taking space within ourselves, our body and our mind. And in fact, it's truly rather important because it's illuminating parts within ourselves that still need to be attended to and loved and held and heard and allowed to express. So whether you express it creatively or through music and movement or talking or crying and singing, arting, walking, whatever you choose to do, allow that inner Eeyore, that sense of it doesn't do any good to believe anymore. And for good reason. The Eeyore archetype has those feelings for good reasons that the world outside of him reiterated and reiterated. But what's being brought up for us here today, I'm hearing, is to take that seed of belief and hold it in front of ourselves and look at it and say, what could this mean to me now? And then feel into that heart space and the inner universe space. What is within me now that isn't in harmony with this beautiful, glowing, white and colorful seed of belief, of infinite possibilities, of who and what I am and can be and can do, and my experience of it. And allow ourselves to be in that moment and be in the knowledge that that seed is in our hands, and acknowledge that the feelings that are having themselves be expressed within them get to be heard, and creatively, lovingly, supportively, and even upliftingly, without pushing, but simply like a parent to a child. I know you're sad, and I know you have all the reasons in the world to feel like there's no hope, no possibility, no way to get to that dream or goal or feeling and knowing of what you want to be. And I'm here for you to tell you that I can see you doing it. I can feel you doing it. I know you are becoming all of those possibilities, known and unknown yet. I know that, and I hold that light for you, my inner parts of self. I hold that clarity and that knowing and truth, inner parts of myself, of all the amazing, wonderful, beautiful, fulfilling you that you are becoming. I don't simply need to believe, I am the belief. And I will hold both in space for you until they can co-resonate and harmonize and become the next steps. I am here for you, my beautiful self, my sacred self, my powerful, wonderful, free, and talented and capable self. That is the sense of being free in every moment for what it is, knowing that freedom, holding that light and illumination up to the actual whole truth, the truth beyond the circumstances that are residing within the mind or the body, the whole truth that is so much greater, so much more expansive and immense that any one human mind can comprehend and articulate in any given moment. But we can touch on it, or we can experience those moments here and there, fleeting and whisking by in a flicker. And we can, from that, glean the recognition that we know it's there. And that belief in the truth of it isn't a blind faith. It is a recognition of a truth that is bigger than anything any one of us can contain in any moment. And with that belief, our bodies open up and straighten up and strengthen up, and the fire moves through us, and it's balanced and tempered by the cool waters of peace and calm. It's balanced and tempered by the grounding of the earth, of the energies throughout our body into the earth. And it's fluid and flowing with the wind's knowledge and psyche, bringing in new information and taking out the old, circulating. And our body becomes a moving art display of the elements of the natural world around us. That's you. You are a living, moving exhibition of the natural world in your own beautiful, unique, incredibly wonderful, and empowered body. I'm so grateful for you being in this world, being here with me on this channel. And just in case you forgot, since the last time we met, you matter. I love you. You are very important. You are. You matter. Go well. Be true. Be loving. Ahom.